All right, folks. So I'm going to open up my project 2 loop. I'm going to run it. And you should have 277 values for Richards-Baker flashiness index, however you call this, and 277 values for your slope of your flow duration curve. You might have different names for these, and that's totally fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight each column. I'm going to say Control C, and I'm going to paste these values into an Excel spreadsheet. Same with SFTC. Our SFTC values should all be negative. That's what we would expect. I'm going to label these RBFI and SFTC. I'm also going to create a site column at the far left and give values between 1 and 277. Finally, just to make things look nice, I'm going to restrict the number of values to 4 digits. But what you're going to see when we scroll down, things are looking great until all of a sudden we've got some nans. Which is not good. We don't like nans. So the question is, why do we have nans? And there are a couple different options. There are a couple different potential issues. Let's take a look at site 242. So I'm going to clear this. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to go to site 242. And I am going to do a quick plot of Q, not converted Q, just plot of Q, because my first thought is, well, maybe there's some missing data. And when I look at my Q plot, I'll plot this with date, plot Q date, Q. It does not look like there is any missing data. That looks pretty darn complete. Let's just take a look at Q. And once again, there are no nans in there. Where could the nan be coming from? It's got to be coming from somewhere else. What I'm going to tell you is it's coming from drainage area. So we got to do something different for those sites. That said, we have nans for site number 218. Let's take a look at site number 218. We've got a drainage area there. We've got Q values, but they're very unusual. Site number 218 is very, very, very bizarre. We have something really unusual happening at site number 218. So we're going to have to do something different for that site. And likely for site number 220, let's grab that one and let's plot Q. And again, we have something very, very weird happening at that site. So we're going to have to decide if we want to just get rid of them or what we want to do. So we've got some problematic sites, and they are missing drainage areas. So what are we going to do? Well, Professor Kelleher has another sneaky database she can use to grab that information. So what I'd like you to do is log into Moodle, navigate to our CE352 page, go into Project 2, Streamflow, and you're going to see a new file here called New Sites. Click on it, it will download. And when you open this up, it should come into your downloads. This is my downloads. It's going to probably appear as a zip file. What I'd like you to do is unzip that. And I'm on a Mac, remember. On your PC, you can click on the file and you should see an extract option up above. Once you extract it, I want you to copy those sites. And then I go navigate to your project folder, Where's my project folder? 352, project 2, Streamflow, site data. And what you are going to do in site data, or wherever your project can be found, project 2, Streamflow Q, I think that's mine, project 2, Streamflow site Q. is you copy those files, and then you are going to paste them. It's probably going to say something like, oh, there's already a file in there called that. And you're going to say, that's okay. Replace it, replace it, replace it. And now if we go to that same folder, if I go to one of those files, for instance, QDaily 2026, I've got a number there for drainage area now. So when I run my analysis, go to RBFI, I'm going to copy and paste that again into my Excel spreadsheet. Copy and paste that again into my Excel spreadsheet, SFTC. Same thing. Now when I scroll down, I shouldn't have those double nans anymore. I still have nans here for 218 and 220. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a very small number. I'm going to make this a very small number, -0.000001. I need it to be a number for what I'm going to do next, but I can make it a very, very small number. I would like you to save this file, save it on your desktop in your Project 2 folder, and save it as an Excel workbook is fine. Call it hide SIGs. No spaces in the file name. That's going to be important for ArcGIS. The next thing I'd like you to do is go back to Moodle. Grab Project 2 characteristics. This is the information that we have available for us to interpret our classifications. It's a lot of information. We're probably not going to need all of it. What I'd like you to do, though, right now is just grab the latitude and longitude of each gauge and copy and paste that into your Excel file and save it. All right, now you have a file with site numbers, your values, and your latitude and longitude for each gauge. We need to go to ArcGIS. All right, so hypothetically, you have a folder called Project 2 on your desktop. In Project 2, you should have your files. I'm on Amazon AppStream, so I don't. And you should have your hydrologic signature Excel page. ArcGIS requires that you bring in data in a very specific format, and we want to make sure that you can do that. So we actually need you to open up that hydrologic signatures file in Excel, and you're going to save this as a CSV file. To do that, you're going to go up to File, you're going to say Save As, you're going to select the place you want to save it, and then under Save as Type, you're going to scroll until you find CSV, delimited. And save it again as hide SIGs, no spaces. You can use a hyphen in the middle. You can get rid of the hyphen. It doesn't matter. I'm going to say save. And don't worry, there's going to be pop-ups. Don't worry about those. We are only using one sheet, so that's totally fine. So when you close that down, you should have an Excel file and you should have a CSV file. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to open up ArcMap. So let's open up ArcMap. We're going to say we want a blank map. Totally fine. We're going to make this bigger. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to add a base map. So the way that you get to that base map is you go to the little Add Data button, and there's a little drop down there where you can say Add a base map. Let's grab something. Imagery might be too much. I'm going to try this light gray canvas. It's sort of up to you what you want to try out or pick. Let's try that guy for now. And it's going to load. The next thing you want to do is you are going to add your data. So I'm actually going to delete this folder connections. I don't have one. So, okay, we're going to add data. What you're going to do is you're going to click on the add data button. And this is going to bring you to a file situation where you can see all of the files on your computer. What you're going to do is you're going to go over here to this little folder with a plus sign above it that says connect to folder. You're going to click on that. And you are going to navigate to your desktop and to your project 2 folder. And you're going to say, okay. That should now appear in this window. When you double click in there, you should see your 2 files. You want to click on the CSV file, not the XLSX file. I'm going to click on that CSV file and I'm going to say add. And something weird happens. You have something weird happen in the table of contents, and you should see a little table over here. If I right click on this and say open, all of a sudden I have my site numbers, my RBFI values, my SFTC values, and my latitude and longitude. We want to display these as points. I'm going to right click on this again, and I have this convenient little thing down here that says display XY data. I'm going to click on that. My X field, I always have to think through this, is going to be my longitude. My Y field is going to be my latitude. And then we got to select a coordinate system. So I'm going to say edit here. I am going to scroll all the way up and go to geographic coordinate systems. We don't want something projected. We're going to go down to North America. And we are going to go to USA. And we're going to grab a NAD 1983 with 2011 in parentheses. We're going to say OK. And we're going to say OK. And it's going to give you a pop-up, and you're going to say that doesn't matter, I don't care. And if you do that correctly, your points should appear here in North America. Yeehaw! These are our sites. All right. So the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is to save your file. Give it a save as, navigate to that project 2 folder, make a new folder in there called map or ArcGIS or whatever you want, and save this as project 2. Give me a save. The way that we move around in ArcGIS is with the little hand tool that's up here that's called pan, and you can zoom in or out using these 2 magnifying glasses up here. If I click on the little eye, that's the identify tool, I can click on any of those points and it'll tell me what site number it is, what the RBFI value is, what the SFTC is, and the latitude and longitude. So what I want to do is right, we're back. So I'm going to select my events file, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to say data, export. It's going to pop up telling me, what do I want to export? And I am going to say I want to export all features. That is correct. And I'm going to tell it where I want to export. So I'm going to click that little folder, and I want it to export to project 2 map. I want it to save as a shapefile, .shp, and I want it to save as HideSigs1, because you're eventually going to have to bring in some other data. So I'm going to say save. And it's going to say, do you want to add it to the map as a layer? And you're going to say, yeah, sure. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up here to the table of contents. And you're going to see that there's something that says list by drawing order on the far left side. I want you to click on that. That takes us back to just the things that we have shown on our map. I'm going to select my events file. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to say remove. So the last thing we want to do is we want to show the hydrologic signatures and how their values vary across this whole area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it. I am going to go to properties. And I'm going to go to symbology. What I can do is I can show the quantities for my different values. So let's go to RBFI. I can show this as 5 different classes. I actually don't want to do that. So I'm going to click on classify. And it uses this weird sort of way that it breaks things up that I don't like, that isn't even. So I'm going to go to equal interval. I'm going to say I want 20 different classes. And I'm going to say, okay. And that's going to give me a range of values. And I want you to think about what is a color scheme you would like. So bigger numbers equals flashy, smaller numbers equals stable. I'm going to go with this yellow to blue color scheme, and I'm going to say apply. And now I have a beautiful map that shows how flashiness varies across all my watersheds. And you should see values where it's higher, and you should see values where it's lower. And we're seeing some interesting patterns that are not necessarily, I think, geographically related. What I'm going to ask you to do is to grab a screenshot of this and bring it into your homework file. I would also recommend that you plot SFDC. Since you are in here, you are ready to go. To do this, you're going to right click again. You're going to go to properties. And all you're going to do is change the value field. You're going to change it to SFDC. And again, you got to go through and change your classification to equal interval. And let's do 20 of these again. Actually, let's do 30 for this one, because what you see is we made that really, really tiny set of values. That's taken up a lot of it, and that's okay. So let's say okay, and let's do a different color scheme. Pick one that you like. I'm going to grab this light to darker blue. And this one is a little harder to see what's going on. You're sort of missing what is happening. So for SFDC, what are we going to do? We're actually going to use a different type of classification. We're going to use a quantile classification with 30 classes. And it's a little uneven, but it should show us the variation that we have a little bit more. And there we go. We have some steeper slopes. We have our slopes nearer to 0. We have slopes that are more negative, that are lighter blue colors. I sort of don't like the way that that maps. Like, I want steeper slopes to be more blue. So I'm actually going to change my color scheme. I want it to be intuitive. There are ways to flip your color schemes too. I'm going to go with this one, I think. There we go. There we go. All right. So go ahead and grab a screenshot of this and bring it in. And you are good to go. Way to go.